Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 4 p.m. Motion to suspend the rules.
Pursuant to Section 3.5 of Bylaw 2024-05, Procedural Bylaw, any part or parts of this bylaw may be suspended by a vote with the consent of council members present unless the parts are prescribed by statute or law. The recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby suspend the rules of Bylaw 2024-05, Section 4.2.6.3, allowing an amendment to the agenda after the deadline for the purpose of the addition of an item of consideration, motion to amend motion 2025-155, and that council hereby further suspend the rules of Bylaw 2024-05, Section 15.2 and 15.7, allowing the motion to amend motion 2025-155 to be introduced at the same meeting being June 3rd, 2025.
Move it, please. Councillor Statham. Seconded. Councillor Denning. All in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Adoption of the agenda.
That West Elgin Council hereby adopts the special meeting agenda of June 3rd, 2025 as presented.
Okay, move it, please. Deputy Mayor Tellier. Seconded. Councillor Statham. All in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Disclosure of any pecuniary interest. Seeing none. Adoption of the previous special meeting minutes.
That West Elgin Council hereby adopts the special meeting minutes of May 28th, 2025 as presented.
Move it. Councillor Denning. Seconded. Deputy Mayor Tellier. All in favour? That's carried. Thank you. So we go straight on to 6. Magda, Vera, Manager of Corporate Services, Treasurer. Read 2025 draft budget revisions, please.
Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. So far we had 2 meeting of Council related to 2025 operating and capital budget. Our first meeting consisted of the Port Glasgow Trailer Park Department's water and wastewater, and our second meeting followed that we had just last week consisted of the entire operating and capital budget for the municipality of West Elgin. Since that time, there hasn't been any revisions, as staff did not receive any direction from council to make revisions or changes to any of the numbers presented to council. So what I would like to do, I would like to first of all start perhaps with a quick review of Port Glasgow Trailer Park budget, water and wastewater, and then seek council's input on those 4 departments.
Okay, thank you.
So let's move on to Port Glasgow Trailer Park. So is there anything that council would like to review after you had time to review the entire budget in great detail? Are there any questions on Port Glasgow Trailer Park?
Yes, Councillor Denny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the chair, and thank you, Magda. When we were initially reviewing the Port Glasgow Trailer Park budget items, I had made a comment or a suggestion about the idea of, regardless of how the rest of this year unfolds with our discussions with the trailer park, moving forward with getting some estimates for some of the more essential work that should probably be considered for this year as opposed to waiting. And those 2 items were some lighting upgrades to some lighting around the restaurant area and the washroom upgrades. So I would like to propose a motion, if this is an appropriate time, to direct staff to look into acquiring estimates to what the cost would look like to do those two fairly essential improvements.
Can you repeat that, Councillor Denning? I have the lighting around.
Sure,
Yep.
certainly. So a motion to direct staff to look into estimates for the upgrades to the lighting around the restaurant area, as well as the washroom upgrades.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
Councillor Denning, can we just get some clarification on some estimates? Are you wanting just what the ballpark would be, or do you want us to proceed with plans or just estimates on what upgrades, simply estimates? Okay,
I think that would be fair.
okay.
Thank you.
Anything?
Councillor Denning that's made that motion.
Yeah.
Second.
A seconder for that.
Second.
Deputy Mayor Tellier.
Okay.
All in favour? That's carried. Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, if I might, council, as we're making motions, Mr. Mayor, the chair, maybe to have some consideration that you move in second, and before you do a call,
Okay.
proceed to see if council has any questions or deliberation they'd like on a motion. This is a little bit opposite to what we probably do in general, though probably more the Robert's Rules practice, that a motion would go on the floor, moved in second. Discussions would occur before the call. That just provides council an opportunity to ask questions of motions to make sure all council's in agreement. That would be my recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions? Seeing none. All in favour? That's carried. Thank you. We could carry on,
Okay.
Magda, please.
Thank you.
So, okay.
Yes, Councillor Statham.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I just, Magda, one question on that Port Glasgow Trailer Park budget. I noticed a substantial increase in wages, and I just wondered if you could comment on that, please.
Certainly. So the wage increase was based on last year's pay equity review for two staff members, which is supervisor and trailer park attendant.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, if you'll carry on, please.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna move on to water department. Again, there was no changes have been made to the budget that was presented back in May. Are there any questions from council?
Any questions? Seeing none. Okay.
Okay, we're gonna move on to Rodney Sewer now. Same thing. Are there any questions from council?
Any questions? Seeing none.
Okay, okay, and the last one is West Lawn Sewer. Are there any questions from council?
Seeing none. You'll carry on, please.
So is council in the position to pass water and sewage rates at this point?
Questions?
Comfortable making that. I'm comfortable making that motion,
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
So we need a seconder. Any questions? Yes. Deputy Mayor.
No problem. So thank you for that. Through the chair, just wonder if we can really put a lot of, I know we're gonna get a lot of feedback, but a lot of communication and transparency with the public about what we're doing with our water rates and our sewer rates. Just to be out there and know what's exactly people are going, what's going on for residents. So just wondering if we can look at doing that. I don't know what kind of staff time that would entail, but and then at the bottom of it, if anybody wants to have any questions or anything to direct to staff or council, because staff shouldn't be answering and have to answer on social media or on our website all the time. Just wondering if we can have that transparency with them or even an insert in their water bill or sent with their email water bill. I know we always do, but just to reiterate if we can do that. Thank you.
Just keep them informed
Mhm.
and exactly where the money's going.
Exactly. I know we've done that before with pie charts and that's worked out really well.
I think that can be achieved.
Carrie, do we need a vote on the motion?
Yes, please.
Vote on the motion. Move it.
Yes, we had Councillor Denning move.
Yeah.
Councillor Statham second.
Yeah.
So we need all in favor? Carried.
It's carried.
So now I believe we're ready to move on to our operating municipal budget. We're gonna discuss both operating and capital budget at the same time. Again, no revisions have been made, but I am here to answer any questions at this point that council may have. We can certainly go in order. If there's a lot of questions from council, we can go through each individual department and then address those questions as we go, or council perhaps if council prefers to take turns, we can do it that way. So whatever council chooses to do, I'm good with.
Okay. Would you-
If I might, Magda, how about we start going in by department and that way
Okay.
council can focus its questions in by department. And then if council has concerns by department, please bring them forward. Or if you have line or any information that you need within a department, that way we can sort of focus and we can take notes by department.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're gonna start with grants, perhaps on your main summary page. There is a list of grants we are planning on receiving. Does anybody have any questions on those?
Questions from anyone?
None? Okay, we're gonna move on to operating budget. So, and we're gonna start with miscellaneous revenue. Does anybody have any questions on that section?
Yes, Councillor Statham.
Thank you very much. Through the chair, I wanted to just put forward a question, and this is like, I guess, I think Magda, you and I had sort of spoken about this, but and I'm not sure whether the best way to do it is to have a motion put forward. I think that may be the best way to do it, but I would like a little bit more of an understanding on where the interest for our reserve funds, how they're accrued, on which reserve funds accrue interest, and how much interest we're earning on those individual reserve funds. Just again, I reviewed some of the interest under miscellaneous revenue, and I saw that the rates that we're getting based on the amount in the reserve funds doesn't seem to me to add up, and I'm sure there are reasons for that. And I understand in speaking to you, Magda, that there are certain funds that don't accrue interest, and I understand that clearly. But I would like, when I'm looking at $250,000 of interest over $13 million total in reserves. It doesn't make sense to me. And again, you clarified some of that for me, but I imagine that it also doesn't make sense for a lot of the constituents. So I wondered if I could put forward a motion to ask for maybe a short presentation, or if you have it available now, that's fine too, on which funds accrue interest, which reserves accrue interest and how much interest is being accrued. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions in advance. Councillor Statham, that gave me enough time to prepare and answer all your questions that you had. So as council is aware, every year at the end of the year, we do transfers to and from reserves as outlined in our municipal budget. So those transfer, just like I mentioned, are based on the approved budget, or those transfers contain perhaps grant money, grant funding that we receive throughout the year for a specific project. And those grant fundings, good examples are OSIP funding or federal gas tax. That money goes, once received by the municipality, goes at the end of the year, goes directly to reserves. And we try to bank it as we are allowed to bank that money for up to 5 years and basically save that money for a major capital project. So at the same time, the overall surplus, if there is some, is being also transferred to reserves. And that surplus, the general surplus that we have in a given year is transferred to tax rate stabilization reserves. Those transfers from and to reserves are recorded in our accounting system. Those are not actual cash transactions. This is what we see on our finance. So it's just a financial statement presentation, and it's being done through a journal entry. So if you compare our money in reserves versus the money that we have in the bank, it's not going to be the same. That amount is not going to be the same. So the bank balance will never be the same unless with the transfer to reserve, we actually move cash, let's say from our checking account to savings account in order to balance. But typically that doesn't happen. So typically, and so our reserves are larger than our actual bank balance, which means that we have liabilities or payables that are reducing the actual cash in bank. And those liabilities, like if you add everything up, how much money we owe, it should pretty much equal to the net amount that the municipality have. Just like I mentioned, most of the reserves don't earn interest. The only reserves that do earn interest are obligatory and restricted reserves. So at the end of the year, we have an obligation to allocate interest to those reserves and at the same time submit reporting to the ministry that money has been transferred to the reserves, it hasn't been used, and it's earning this much interest. So this type of accounting procedure is being done every year. So as Councillor Statham mentioned, you would like to know which reserves are earning interest and which ones are not. So if you turn into your reserve schedule, there is a list of restricted reserves and obligatory reserves. So the six types of reserves from the bottom of your list, starting with West Oregon Water Department, West Lawrence sewage, Rodney sewage, provincial gas tax, federal gas tax, OSA funding. Those are the reserves that are earning interest, and the interest is allocated at the end of the year. Because we share finances with Dutton Dunwich, mainly Dutton Dunwich helps us offset the deficit at the arena. We also apply interest to arena facility upgrades and dehumidification system upgrades. So those are the reserves that are earning interest. The rest of the funds are just strictly reserves, and the only accounting transaction that is happening is just transfer to reserves. No interest is allocated to them.
Did that answer your questions or?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I believe it did to a point. I guess if there are funds in those accounts, and I think, Magda, if I understand correctly, and again, I apologize, I am not an accountant. But if I understand correctly, a lot of these reserve funds are balanced by liabilities. Is that what you had sort of explained, that they're liabilities? I guess my question is, if we have those funds, for example, the tax rate stabilization fund with 2.6 million, if those are funds that have been accrued and they are somewhere, why is it that we're not earning interest on those?
Because they're part of municipal operations. So they are not designated for specific purchase. They're not coming from the ministry. They're basically being used in operating or regular capital budget to offset our future expense.
Okay, so if there's, again, I apologize because I'm not sure that, I just want to make it clear to, everybody that's listening, myself as well. If those funds are sitting in an account somewhere, why are we unable to garner interest on those funds?
So, I mean, the remaining interest is being used for operating budget, for actual operating expenses. That interest is part of our operating, whether budget or actuals. It is helping us to reduce the increases, tax rate increases
So where would that revenue show up in the budget?
from interest.
Yes.
So that revenue would show under interest expense under miscellaneous revenue. So right now we're at $396,000, and I can I quickly checked our and calculated average interest rate we have received for last year on our savings account, on our reserve account. So we have been earning 3.79%. So most of interest allocation was completed. And so that money, that $396,000 is being used for to offset municipal expenses throughout the year. And we always budget for that. We depend on that revenue, but it's not just, keep in mind that this is not just our savings account revenue. This is also, the interest that we earn from different sources on our checking account, miscellaneous interest on AR. So everything is captured in that account. The majority of it is coming from interest on reserves. And keep in mind that we also, in that account, we also have, we keep Tri-County reserves. So that is also being allocated and deducted from our interest earned.
Okay.
And not reported in this budget, as it does not relate to municipal operations.
Okay. Okay, all right. Yeah, I just need some time to think about that, but thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Further questions? Seeing none, please, Magna.
Okay, any other questions on miscellaneous revenue before we move on?
Any more questions? No?
Okay. Okay, next item is council. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Nope, nope, you go ahead. Sorry, I'm gonna turn off my mic too, sorry.
Deputy Martellier, please.
Thank you so much through the chair. So under council, line 7440, which is conferences / seminars meetings. So last year we used 5,000 of the 15,000 set aside. I'm wondering, since we're already halfway through the year, there's really only one conference for council left to go to. If we can lower that bit to maybe take 5,000 off, so $10,000 is the actual budget, because I know that there is a conference coming up, and I need to do that through a motion, I guess. So I make a motion that we lower line 7440 conferences / seminars / meetings of council to $10,000, from 15 down to 10,000 for the 2025 budget.
Okay, so that was a mover. A seconder? Councillor Statham? Any questions? Seeing none? All in favour? Carried. Right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, Councillor Statham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through you, Magda, I just wanted to ask a question regarding the legal costs that were a line item in the council budget. Again, we'd spoken about this today, and I understand that that is there to support costs related to the integrity commissioner. And I think in previous council meetings, there was a little bit of uncertainty over what exactly that charge is. So I guess my question is, when we have an ombuds complaint that comes through and we have to deal with the ombuds service, I want to be clear about this, that is a free service. And yet we have a line item for legal that is meant to cover complaints that come through. And I just wondered if you could elucidate that for for anybody that's listening and for the rest of the public.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Statham. So yes, ombudsman services are fully funded by the province. So typically there is no cost to the municipality. However, any integrity commissioners, so pretty much any complaints that are submitted to the integrity commissioner, related to code of conduct, conflict of interest, or any issues related with that, we have an agreement with Eric Burles, and those complaints are being investigated by them. Typically, municipality have no control over the cost associated with these complaints, as typically we find out once the investigation begins, and we just have to help the integrity commissioner address the issues. And of course, bill comes after the fact. So there is, unfortunately, with this year's budget, it is very difficult to estimate what that cost is going to be, as we have no control over it. So this year, we're basically estimating $10,000. Whether it's going to be $10,000, whether it's going to be $1,000, we don't know.
Yes.
Thank you very much. That's great. So I just want to be clear, there's no charge for complaints that are registered with the Ombuds service. The charges that we would see as a municipality would come from the Integrity Commissioner, and this is a fund that's designed to support those costs based on previous years.
That's correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you very much.
Further questions? Okay, Magna, please.
Okay, we're gonna move on to administration. Is there any questions from council on administration?
Any questions? Admin, okay. Councillor Statham?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, through the chair, I have several. Magda, thank you for taking the time today. I really appreciate that. We spoke at length and, hopefully gave you a chance to get some answers to these because I think it's important. So the first question I had was regarding the costs listed under administration for audits. So I reached out to Southwold. I spoke to the mayor, Grant. Their costs for audits were $18,000 in the last budget that they presented. So $18,000. I noticed that in 2024, our audit costs were $50,000, and we have $32,000 budgeted in 2025. So given that those two municipalities are roughly the same size, about 500 residents and different, I just wondered if you could comment on why we would be seeing such a large disparity between the costs that Southwold paid for their audit costs versus West Elgin.
Certain. Thank you for your question, Councillor Statham. So audit, so in terms of annual audit on its own, it is costing us approximately $27,000 to go through interim and final audit. As you know, over the last 5 years, my position was split. And there is also, once the final audit is done, there is also requirements from the province on reporting. And one of the reportings that auditors have been doing for us and helping me in the past 5 years was financial information return. We cover the cost. That cost is approximately $4,000 annually. And also last year was not a regular year. We, as council is aware, we were going through manager of corporate services recruitment, and auditors were helping us, were part of our interview process. So there was a cost associated with that. At the same time, last year was also the first year where we had to report asset retirement obligations. There was they were doing great amount of work for that, and because of the staffing, I was the only staffing numbers and capacity. They were also helping us with reconciliation of tangible assets that we had listed in our new software, asset management software, Citywide. So last year, the cost went a little bit up. On the top of that, because last year-end was completed quite late, we missed one of the accruals for 2023. So $18,698 pertains to 2023 out of that.
Did that answer your questions?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Denning, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through the chair. Magda, again, thank you so much. I'm not sure if it's in this category for administration or if it falls under building municipal, but last time we met, one of the items that was brought up was ergonomic workstations for office staff. Would that fall in this area
Yeah.
here?
Yes.
Okay. So brought that up a couple of weeks ago, just wanting to underline the fact that it's certainly the expression of concern about making sure that the team has all of the resources that they need in order to do their jobs well is noted. And as I mentioned before, I think that this is possibly something that we should be as we triage this very important budget with a lot of different expenses. I want to make sure that we're choosing all of the right things and trying to inject some balance in all that we do. We invested last year money in making sure that we had a structural organization consultant come in and realign things so that our team has the human resources support that they require to do their jobs really well. And I would just like to propose to council that that particular line item of the office equipment is something that we essentially postpone for this year, so that we can focus on just trying our very best to keep the tax increases in check for our taxpayers. So that would be a subject to Robin or anybody else on the team having anything else to say about that. That would be a motion that I would propose.
Any further questions?
We have a motion on the floor, Mr. Mayor.
Yep. Okay. Seconder. Councillor Statham, any questions?
Sorry, Teresa. I would support that motion. However, I do want to, before voting on it, I would like to know if it's possible to address the concerns of those individual employees on a case-by-case basis, as opposed to having a general fund that's put aside for upgrading the ergonomics of workstations. And I guess what I mean by that is I am very much, and again, as a business owner and a business operator, I understand that we need to follow the regulations put forward by our joint health and safety committees, by the WSIB, by the acts that govern safety in the province and workplace health and safety. I understand that, and I don't want to step on staff's toes when they're trying to implement those issues. I do, however, wonder if we can address it on a case-by-case basis. And what I mean by that is if we have a staff member that comes forward with a concern, that we address that concern on an individual basis as opposed to a general large chunk of money that goes out. Maybe Robin, you can comment on this, please.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as expressed before, and then also to council, we have had an ergonomist come in. The reason you have an ergonomist come in is because you think you are sitting properly at your desk. And it's much like when you have to do physical therapy or occupational therapy, somebody else helps you to understand the alignment and proper alignment of your body and how equipment actually may be working against you as opposed to with you. So we have had an ergonomist come into the administrative office. That was a direction of our Joint Health and Safety Committee. That ergonomist has identified that most workstations are too high for our staff. And therefore, we do need to make sure we are putting in, trays to lower down the height of which, so you keep good 90 position within your arms, making sure that monitors are at the correct height for eye vision, so you're not getting one eye strain or you're getting neck strain up and down. Many of our staff use 2 screens or a preference for 2 screens, therefore you're not getting, again, neck torsion. And so a lot of that has been done already. So we have identified the equipment that is needed to support majority of our staff. We still have a few staff that have not been identified. That also could be chairs that need to be so that they can be height adjustable and also adjustable for lumbar support. And then mostly tabletop. The recommendation for those who may need to stand at some point in times can be by risers. While I noted it is an updated expense to do a sit-stand desk, in the long run, it pays better because then when somebody vacates that seat, you're not having to readjust the seat for the new person who's taking it. However, there are other options we can look at in order to adjust. So those have been identified by Occupational Health and Safety. As I had noted to council, it is a requirement for us to provide. We have a responsibility by the Occupational Health and Safety Act that we are making sure that our staff are going to be able to work in a safe manner possible. That talks about, you know, making sure that you can have consistent arm, where your arm sits, how it sits, that you're looking at repetitive strain. And then you're also looking at the pressures that sitting in a long day. Our staff sit 8 hours a day. It is a beautiful space. However, it is a limited space. So the option of getting up and walking around is really reduced in the space that we have. So making sure that they have a good proper seat in which they're at for the majority of the day is essential. So council, you can remove it from this budget, and that is your direction. I will then have to come back with a report to say, here are the overall costs, and please tell me where you'd like me to pay it from.
Deputy Mayor Tellier, please.
Thank you. And through the chair, thank you, Councillor Statham, for your comments and for your motion, Councillor Denning, and for your comments, CAO Greenall. I look at it as being, if we have an occupational health and safety team, that we should listen to them. They're the team that's there to protect our employees. I see in our budget line 7404 for WSIB, each year it's increasing. I kind of feel if we ignore this and don't do exactly what we need to do, we're basically telling our employees that the 8 hours they sit at the desk every day, it doesn't matter to us, we're gonna put it off and you'll have to figure it out in yourselves and put encyclopedias under your screen or whatever the case may be to get where it needs to be, which is not ideal. Your WSIB claims will go up and we will have more of a premium for that. So I would like to keep it in.
Okay, thank you. Right. Any more questions? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Statham.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Robin, if I understand this correctly, and I just want to be clear on this, if we elect to remove this item from the budget, is it your opinion that we will have to spend this money anyways, as a result of obligations under the OHSA? We're gonna have to spend the money regardless. And if we remove the budget item, we're just gonna have to find the money somewhere else. Is that basically what I'm hearing from you?
I mean,
Yes,
Mr. Mayor, thank you. So we have identified needs for staff in order to make adjustments to the workstation. If council does not want to provide a budget, remember, budgets are just the general estimates on how we're going to cost over a year. It could be more, it could be less, but this is what we are making an assumption on of what we need to do. If we remove it, then we as administration don't have a line to go and do that work. Then what I would do is come back with a report to council to say, here are your obligations, like here are the costs, here's the occupational health and safety. You can choose not to, but then you do put yourself at risk because you could have repetitive strains, you could have staff who then file a report with the Ministry of Labor, like there's other steps, right? But it's my recommendation to you is that we've been notified. This is how we can make the workstation safe. And this is how we can reduce any short-term disability or workplace disability from occurring, and this is a manner that the employer needs to take. Council can make a decision and provide direction. I would be making the recommendation that these pieces need to be, as we've had an ergonomist come in and identify need.
Any more?
Thank you very much, Madam CEO. And having had a discussion about it, I think, and I appreciate Councillor Denning bringing that motion forward. I think having discussed it, I would be more comfortable leaving that budget item in place at this point. Thank you.
Okay, where do we go from here?
Oh, yeah. You vote.
Okay. We vote for, are we leaving it in?
The motion, what would be the
Could you-
motion?
Could you give one?
The motion is to defer line item 70107613 equipment purchase. Councillor Denning, was that deferring it to 2026? The original was to defer to 2026.
Okay, so now that's a mover. Now I need a seconder.
We already had a seconder, Councillor Statham.
Councillor Statham, you want to stick to that?
No, at this point, if it goes to a vote, we can vote on it, but I would
Vote no.
vote no. Thank you.
Okay. Then we'll go to the all in favour.
Councillor Denton.
Pardon? Yeah.
Yep.
All in favour?
That does not move forward.
Okay. Didn't carry. Okay, we'll move on.
Are there any other questions on administration?
Yes. Deputy Mayor
Thank you,
Taylor.
through the chair, just a clarification, so I just say the last four digits, sorry, 7444, so that would be for employee recognition. That, I just want a clarification, last time we talked about, that was because we were going to start trying to have more things that we used to have pre-COVID. And does that include fire? Cause I didn't see anything under fire, but it could have just been blind.
No, this
just a-
line item does not include fire, as we have moved fire department to volunteers recognition.
Okay,
event.
perfect, that's why I didn't see it. And then I had just another quick question, if I may.
Yes,
So I don't see for line 7452 for a boot and clothing allowance for this year. In the past, it's been let's see, $1,000 in 2024, and actuals were 810, and then 1,900. We budgeted for just a little over, and it was 810. Is that in a different line too then? Or are we not doing that this year? I just noticed that we were talking, or I was giving you ahead of time. Thank you.
Robin, do you want to answer?
Which line item are we speaking? 7452 boot and clothing allowance. If I might,
Yes,
Mr. Mayor.
please.
We are looking at our policies council, and boot and clothing allowances for health and safety of our outside workers, but this is for inside workers, of which boot and clothing allowance, we were wondering if that actually applied. Though we would like to make sure that that would then be in health and safety, then we needed to, any health and safety devices that might be needed or to support administration would be more appropriately moved there.
Through the chair.
Yeah,
Yeah, we had this discussion about, I'd say 2 years ago, if we were going to keep it in or not. So it's nice to see that we're reviewing that. So thank you.
further questions? Yes, councillor Statham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me. So I guess this is a motion that I'd like to put forward regarding, so we had a lot of discussions about the increase in salaries. And Magda, you and I spoke about this. What I'd like to suggest as a motion, I would like to see a presentation at our next meeting that gets into some detail regarding the pay equity increases. And what I mean by that is I would like it to be clear to the general public why we went down this road, where this originated, the discussions, I'm so sorry, the discussions that precipitated the pay equity increase. I'd also like to, I would like it to be clear to constituents why pay equity is necessary, why that was something that was obligatory for the municipality to investigate. If staff would be able to please provide a presentation that we could present at the next meeting, I think that would go a long way into constituents in the general population and understanding why we went down that road. So my motion would be if staff could please create a presentation outlining the reasoning that we used to come up with the increases in wages under the administration budget line item. Thank you.
Okay. We have a mover, so we need a seconder. Councillor Denning. Questions?
Second.
No further questions? Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councillor Statham, just because we spoke earlier, you're wanting the presentation to be strictly and solely on pay equity?
Pay equity in general, and also the creation of new positions related to the organizational review, because I think that they're linked. When we look at the $327,000 increase in wages, I think the two of those items are very related. And we had the organizational review that was completed by Kelly Linton under direction of council. And I just want to I want the details to be clear to the public, is what I'm
So
saying.
it's, the motion would be for a presentation on pay equity and the organization review. To
Thank you.
make sure they're both in there.
Thank you, Robin.
Alright.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Yes.
So we still have a mover and we still have a seconder.
That is correct.
And we've asked any questions? Okay, so we'll go to a vote. All in favour? Carried. Okay, Magda.
Excuse me. Any other questions on administration?
Yes, Councillor Statham.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through the chair, please don't make fun of me here. This is the last one, I promise, under administration. Magda, and again, you and I spoke about this earlier, but I just wondered if you could please explain to anybody that's listening or anybody that will listen to this, if you could please explain the concept of tax stabilization and what that entails, why we have that fund, how we've been contributing to it, and so on and so forth, just so that it's clear. When we're talking about drawing from a tax stabilization fund, I want people to understand what that means. And I also want people to understand why we implemented that fund during the uncertainty surrounding COVID. And that way people can understand why we have that and why we can use it. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Statham. So in regards to tax stabilization reserves establishment, that those reserves have been from the beginning of the municipality, has always been there. It's just we were never up until this point in a position where we had to heavily use them. So the number one, the purpose of tax stabilization reserves is to smooth our tax rates and protect our ratepayers from unexpected financial pressures. So think of tax rate stabilization reserves as like a rainy day account that you may have at home. In case something happens, you have an emergency issue with your house, you keep that money stored safely, and when that day comes, you're confident you can kind of fix the issue that you may have. So the same tax stabilization reserves are being used exactly in the same way. And the purpose of it is just to avoid sudden tax hikes for our residents. And this year is a prime example. Last year, we went through organizational review, pay equity review. We were expecting heavy and significant increases on our tax base. We just did not know how big that increase is going to be. And on the top of that, we have, high inflation, potential tariffs, like things are changing so drastically that it's almost impossible to keep up with the increases. So basically, in order to avoid those sudden tax hikes, especially this year, it would be wise to use tax rate stabilization reserve to offset the increase this year, and especially as we have a tanker, a fire truck. We're talking $200,000 in operating budget that has to come out, and then, you know, almost $500,000 overall in wage and benefits increases. Those are significant increases, especially for our small municipality with limited tax base. So, basically, so how does it work? In a good year, when things that are under control and perhaps we are able to find some savings within our budget, we end the year with surplus, and that surplus at the end of the year is transferred to tax rate stabilization reserves. I just want to mention to council, we've been very responsible. This municipality has been very responsible in terms of spending. There was only 2 occasions when in the last 10 years when tax stabilizations reserves have been used. And to be honest, it was just small amounts of funds have been transferred from that account. And I'm going to tell you, in 2018, we finished the year with small deficit, and we removed $27,000 from tax rate stabilization. Another year, in 2021, we needed extra support for when we did official plan updates. So we withdrew just under $48,000 for that purpose. We haven't been touching any money. We been financially responsible, staff and council. And, you know, at this point, when the increases are quite high, I strongly recommend that council considers moving money out of tax rate stabilization reserves for that purpose.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Magda. It sounds to me like that is a very prudent use of resources. And to your point, putting money aside for a rainy day, I think is important for any business. And I think given that pay equity has been something that's been forced upon us, it's not an option. I would suggest that it is a prudent use of those resources, and that's what they're there for. So I appreciate that. That's a great explanation. Thank you.
Okay, further questions? Seeing none.
Sorry. Are there any questions on administration? No. Okay. Okay, we're going to move on to municipal buildings. Are there any questions on that?
Seeing none.
Okay. Next one is Old Town Hall. Any questions?
Yes, Councillor Denny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through the chair. Not a question so much as a statement, again, for folks who might be wondering. Old Town Hall right now is it's there, and we are waiting on the engineer's report that council contracted out to see what we're faced with regards to the cost to bring it to code under 2025 costs and standards. So looking forward to getting that report so that we can together decide the best path forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Further questions? No, seeing none. If you carry on, please.
Okay, next is fire. Does anybody have any questions?
Councillor Statham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess this is a question for you, Jeff. I just I've had a little bit of feedback from some of my my ward members, just asking for a little bit of clarification on the purchase of the tanker truck and purchase of the washrooms. I wanted to start by saying I very much appreciate what you guys do, and I think that these are upgrades, in my opinion, that are necessary. And I just, given that there's some people out there who probably don't really understand, I just wondered if you could explain for people listening at home why we elected to go with the tanker, what the current cost, if we decided to purchase that tanker today, what that cost would be, and then maybe a short description on why the cost for the washrooms is $50,000, which I think is pretty light. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. Through the chair. So yeah, on the tanker, we fully recognize it's a large cost to the municipality. We do, although we do feel confident, we did our due diligence through the process. So we formed a council, I'm sure recall. We formed a committee, tanker replacement committee, a couple years ago now. So we looked at several different manufacturers and different options. It was a couple year process, I guess, looking back. We did end up pairing up with Malahide and Bayham. So we bought three matching apparatus tankers at that time. Did save us approximately 35,000 doing that joint purchase. To answer one of your questions directly, I guess the estimated cost now of that truck, and I happened to just coincidentally run into the sales rep of the company a couple weeks ago, is over $1 million now, which is a little hard to believe, given that it's just a little bit over a year, I believe, since council approved that purchase. But we all know the cost increases that everyone's experienced. So we did. We're pleased that we were able to save that amount of money. Going back a couple years, we did look at the overall needs of the fire department. We do recognize at that point, we recognize we have an aging fleet, especially with the tankers. So we have two aging tankers. And again, council may remember at the time we looked at both tankers and decided to replace the tanker in West Lauren. And I know there was a couple questions about replacement at that time. We have so we've put together, I'll say it, on official replacement schedule. We've kind of incorporated some of that into the replacement or the capital planning process for future apparatus, because we know there's obviously other trucks to repair or replace in the future. We have already eliminated an older rescue van and a trailer from the fleet. So this is going back a few years. So we have downsized the fleet already. We are looking at possibly merging a vehicle or a couple vehicles together in the future as well. A rescue potentially be, of course, brought to council for consideration, but the rescue and snuffer in Rodney Station 1 is something we've talked about possibly merging together in the future. And I guess back to the tankers directly, we did feel in a rural municipality, rural fire department with rural water supply needs, we were pretty sure that the tankers, we had to keep the consistent two tankers, one for each station, just with rural water supply needs. So I hope does that answer that question on the tanker?
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Yes, it does, because I think it's really important to realize that not all residences in our municipality have access to fire hydrants. And without a tanker, if we have a major fire at a house out on Silver Clay Line, there's not the option of hooking up to a fire hydrant. So I do agree that that's very important. Thank you for clarifying that. Just to be clear, the cost that we pay for the tanker is a little over 700?
739, yeah, right around 739.
739.
$1,000.
And if we were to purchase that piece of equipment today, we'd be looking at, I think you said
1.1 was the rough estimate that this company gave me. That was just a couple weeks ago. So,
well, thank you, Jeff. I think we did pretty well on that. I think that's a wise decision. And then the other side of that question was the washrooms. I just wondered if you could explain what exactly that $50,000, what we're getting for that, and why we're at $50,000. I think I understand, having done some washroom renovations in the past, but if you could just outline why we're looking at $50,000 for that, please.
for sure. And again, through the chair on the washroom rentals. So I should clarify, we're renovating the current washroom at Station 1 in Rodney and adding a second washroom. So I guess it's a reno slash addition of a washroom, if you want to say. So we kind of identified a couple years ago, it's for meeting and training. The Rodney Station is the main fire department station or spot, I guess. Just from it's got the large training room, lots of parking, etc. So we did identify a couple years ago the current washroom, which is original from when the station was built in the 90s, is obviously aging. It's still serving the purpose, but with the use, and the municipality does use the training room and the washrooms for different meetings or happenings there. The fire school also uses it a couple weekends a year, so we have quite a bit of use there. So we did feel and also of note is we have several more female firefighters on the department as well now over the last few years. So just overall increase in use of the station, male and more female firefighters along with the male firefighters, and just the aging existing washroom. We felt it was prudent to do an update for that. And on the $50,000 note, I don't have the figure in front of me. We did bring, we are optimistic with the quote and actually the work on that project is slated to begin in the next week or so. And it is going back a couple years to when the project was first approved through council. But we're pretty confident we'll finish under budget. So hopefully happy to answer any other questions. Hopefully that helps out.
Further questions?
Yep. Again, thank you very much. And again, when firefighters return from a call, they have a shower to clean any contaminants off of them. That's essential, right?
Yeah, for sure. And actually, I'm glad you mentioned that because I think of note also is, and it's not in the $50,000, but we did get provincial fire protection grant funding for the ventilated laundry room, which is basically a place to wash our bunker gear, clean our packs, our masks. We've completed that project just very recently in Station 2 in West Lauren. So we were able to, and the goal was, and we were able to find a few efficiencies. We were able to incorporate that project with the washroom reno at Station 1 in Rodney. So, and we do have an existing shower in the one washroom. And with cancer prevention that we're really trying to be proactive on, we're going to further encourage showering. And it's not a high frequency, but just at those fires, structure fires, but also vehicle fires is very important, and the more frequency that they shower back at the hall. So we're going to utilize that, and then ideally keep that second washroom as a like without it won't have a shower in it, but just as a strictly 3-piece washroom, I guess, or 2-piece washroom, I should say.
Yes.
The only thing I would like to add is that besides of fire department taking advantage of different grants opportunities, the $50,000 that council see in this year's budget has no effect on tax rates, as that money is being transferred from reserves. As the fire chief mentioned, this project was approved by council 2 years ago.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Further questions? No. Carry on. Magna, please.
Any other questions on fire?
No.
Okay, next is police. Are there any questions on police services? None. Lower Thames Conservation Authority. None. Building inspection. None. Okay, emergency measures. One. Bylaw enforcement. Animal control. Roads, municipal.
Roads, okay. Councillor Statham, please.
Thank you very much. I have a question about drainage. Would this fall under roads, or is that a?
Not really, but
Okay.
go ahead. we can address the issue right now.
Get it out of the way. Okay. So one thing that I've had a couple of constituents approach me about, and I've personally experienced this in the past, is when we have drainage works that are undertaken by the municipality, the invoicing to the residents and the assessment of those costs is an extremely slow process. So again, my family recently had some drainage work done. Not gonna expect to see that bill for a year, 2 years, 2.5 years, whatever. My concern with that is twofold. Number one, the farmers are at a little bit of a disadvantage in that because they don't know what the costs are going to be for several seasons, and it makes it difficult to budget for that. It's also a little bit difficult to understand how that does not affect the financial well-being of the municipality if we're not being paid receivables for 2.5 years. And the reason I bring this up, it does directly affect the budget. And I don't know if there's any allowance for that. If we're waiting 2.5 years to get paid, it does have bearing on what we're discussing. So whether this is a discussion for another day or not, it was something that was brought forward to me. I would like staff to investigate ways to expedite that process. I know, Magda, you mentioned to me that there is a prepayment option that's available. It's difficult for, that prepayment to be considered when they don't have a rough idea, when the farmers don't have a rough idea of the cost. So if that's something that we could look at, and again, that may not necessarily have a direct bearing on the budget, but I do feel it's worthy of consideration. So I don't know if that's a motion for another day or if that's something that we can do today. It doesn't really have to do with the budget per se, but.
Just sure, if somebody's doing a job for someone, it's pretty difficult to let somebody do the work if you don't know what the price is.
Correct.
Well, surely they have an estimate, don't they?
So again, I could be completely wrong about this, but someone comes and cleans out the drain. The farmers have no idea what it's going to cost until it's assessed. There's grants that are available that affect the price. It's very difficult, and this is not residents that are doing this, right? This is
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
It's large drains and ditches and things.
correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Through the chair.
Yes.
So I can certainly provide council with high level of our process at the how drainage works. However, I would suggest that we postpone that discussion and at a later date, as number one, it doesn't really relate to our operating or capital budget. And number two, it would be very beneficial if our drainage superintendent was here.
That's completely fair. Like I said, it was one of the things that you and I spoke about this morning. So I just wanted to bring that forward, and we can postpone that and maybe table a discussion about that for an upcoming meeting.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Further questions? Yeah, Deputy Mayor Tellier. Please.
Thank you, through the chair. I'm looking at line number, a couple of them, because they're all related. So 7254, which is grader number 2. And then 7267, which is truck number 17. And then 7270, which is truck number 8. I'm seeing that in 2024, for example, we'll look at grader number 2. We budgeted for $8,000. It almost doubled with actuals. And then for truck 17, we budgeted 15,000. It was just almost 24. I'm just wondering, since we've got such low amounts, for grader 2, for example, we have $7,500 budgeted. And for truck 17, sorry, we have $1,500 budgeted. I'm wondering if we should look, this will not be popular, at raising those budget amounts, or are all the repairs done and we don't need to think about it for 2025. I'm just looking at those and thinking that's a big jump from what we thought the amounts would be for those trucks and the graders, the great trucks and grader, or if we should just leave it as be. Maybe there's something I don't know under there. Like, for example, truck number 8, we budgeted for $15,000 and it was just over $34,000 we spent on it.
Could anybody shed some light on that, please?
Could we
Through
raise
you.
the amounts? And I know it's not popular opinion, but we want to be covered, right? We have actual true numbers.
I'm gonna have to
Yes.
research this and get back to you on that, so.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I just saw that while Ryan was asking his questions. I saw the big jumps in numbers and I had a little note here too, so thank you.
Through the chair,
Thank
the
you.
only answer I have is for truck number 8, because that truck we're planning on replacing this year. That's why the amount is so small.
Sorry, through the chair, so we still have 27,500 for truck number 8 budgeted.
Oh.
For truck number 8.
Yeah.
Then I don't know. We would have to dig into it.
So can you dig into it and then if later I can make a motion towards that to change the amount? All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Any further questions? Yes, councillor Denning.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and through the chair. So a couple weeks ago, when we were doing budget review, we had a little bit of discussion about our upcoming EV charging station grant. And since then, there's been some discussion with staff. And Magda, you had an interesting idea about a way to essentially address the financial concerns, but also continue down this road in a responsible way. Would you be comfortable sharing your thoughts?
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Denning. Before we, if I may, I just quickly found out information about truck number 8. So the reason why it's so high, because we already incurred expense in that same amount. We are disposing it. However, we had to fix the truck that unfortunately we needed.
All right, thank you. On its last legs, but still need a bit of repair. All right, still going. Well, that'll make it good to sell later. Newly repaired old truck. All right, thank you, appreciate it.
EV charging stations, yes. So at the last council meeting, council was implying on perhaps canceling the project, suggested that perhaps the project should be canceled. So we've been planning for parking lot extension and EV charging stations for the past 2 years. The idea started with parking lot extension, and then the grant funding was available. So staff thought it would be a great opportunity to incorporate both projects together. As council is aware, we applied for 2, we've tried 2 different sources for grant funding application. First one, unfortunately, because of the high volumes of applications, we were not successful. The second application that we submitted, we have been successful, but the grant money was significantly lower, only $125,000, which gave us more higher portion of the cost to cover. At that time, we already had $60,000 transferred to reserves for the parking lot creation. And back early this year, I prepared a report to council indicating, outlining the potential cost. And at that point, council was leaning towards that project. Unfortunately, with difficult budget this year, it is difficult to justify, the cost of EV charging station, especially when the momentum for electric vehicles is gone. So when I reached out to to the company that manages that project, basically they indicated that to cancel the project, there will be no cost to the municipality. They are willing to absorb the cost of design and engineering up until this point. However, a day later, I received another email that there is another grant funding available under a different program. And it is stackable, which means that we can use it within our existing funding. The new grant is for the maximum of $100,000. So instead of canceling this project, I strongly recommend that perhaps we defer this project and submit grant application for the stackable grant. Because in the end, the only cost that the municipality would have to absorb is the $60,000 for the parking lot creation, plus additional $11,000 for EV charging stations, and we're purchasing 6 of them. So I don't think you can get a better return on investment than $71,000. So I strongly recommend that council reconsiders their decision and direct staff to submit another application for the purpose of constructing and installing EV charging stations.
Yes, councillor Statham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. Thank you, Magda. When we were talking about this earlier, this is a great opportunity. That $60,000 was, I just want to be clear, that $60,000 was already put aside for the parking lot creation.
That's correct.
So really and truly, to add the EV stations, assuming we get that second grant, Green Economy Grant for $100,000, if we get that grant, and we've already allocated the $60,000 for the parking lot, we're getting 6 EV charging stations for 11 grand.
Yes.
And the one thing that I had asked you earlier, and I think for everybody listening, it's important, those EV charging stations have the potential to generate revenue for the municipality. Because we're charging for the energy that people are putting in their vehicles.
Yes, absolutely. We'll be in charge of collecting revenue and setting up the rates the way we wanted them to be.
So
We're
if,
going to be in full charge of this project, like of this asset, I should say.
so for an additional $11,000, we get 6 charging stations that we can use to produce revenue for the municipality.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Very attractive.
Yes, thank you very much.
Any further questions?
So to move forward with the deferral, I do need a motion.
Be happy to make that motion, Madam Clerk.
Okay. And that is
And-
also, so that is to defer the project to 2026. And you're also directing staff.
Perhaps not to 2026, but deferred until we hear.
To defer the project.
From the grant?
Defer the
Just to
project.
defer.
Yep.
Sure.
Okay, and also directing staff to submit the application for the Green Economy Grant.
Are
Okay,
you well with that?
Yes.
That's seconded.
I do second that. I would also just add that we should check into an extension for the existing grant for 120,000. If we can't get an extension on the existing grant, then we lose that $120,000, and then I would say it's dead in the water to me, but
Oh, absolutely. And I will report that back to council.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Further questions? Sounds like a win-win to my way of thinking. So all in favour? Carried.
thank you.
Thank you, Maggie.
Are there any other questions on municipal roads? Seeing none. The next is county roads. Are there any questions? Okay, for county's transit. On streetlights. Sidewalks.
Seeing any?
Next one is landfill. And then next one is cemetery. And now we're moving on to Parks and Recreation. The first one is Bo Horvath Community Center or Arena. Are there any questions from council?
Yes. Yes, carry on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Magda, I just had one question, sort of concern on this one. So I see one of the incoming sort of revenue sources is the grant from Dutton Dunwich. 78,000 for 2025. And you'd explained to me how we derive that number, where that number comes from. And I just wondered, first of all, if maybe you could explain how we get to that $78,000. And the second part of my question is, given sort of the financial situation that Dutton Dunwich is in at the moment, if what would be the impact if or if any, because I think we spoke about this earlier. Are they able to default on that the payment of the $78,000, and or are those funds already committed if that were to come to be? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Statham. So right from the beginning, so maybe I'll quickly provide council with an overview how the budget is presented. As you know, we jointly pay for operating and capital expenses with Dutton Dunwich. We have an agreement. That agreement is over 20 years old. So the arena budget is finalized usually at the end of the year. So last year I believe we finalized and the board approved the budget back in November. So as the total expenses are shared with Dutton Dunwich, there is as I mentioned, there is an agreement with Dutton Dunwich, and that contribution is based on year-end deficit. So once all the operating and capital expenses are finalized, the total deficit is calculated, and then the share between municipalities is also calculated. So West Elgin, so just a little bit about that agreement. West Elgin absorbs the first 20% of the total deficit, operating and capital, and then the remaining 80% is shared based on both municipalities, but we use stats of for the users that are using Arena, and we calculate that share. So that user data is gathered annually, usually in September when registration is done. And basically we use numbers from minor hockey and the skating club. There might be a third club, but the contribution must be really small. So, and based on those registration number, they usually go by mailing addresses. So the residents that belong to Dutton, they are being accounted for Dutton share, and then our West Elgin residents are contributing to our share of deficit. So in terms of commitment, the board passed the budget back in November. The board consists of one council member from Dutton Dunwich, one from West Elgin, and I believe there's one member from Skating Club and one member from minor hockey. So, so the budget is approved at that level and brought to council for additional approval. So in terms of commitment, we've never had any issues with Dutton Dunwich. They've always been partnering with us. And, whatever we agreed back in November is I'm pretty sure it's incorporated in their own operating budget.
Okay, Councillor Statham.
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So if I understand correctly, the funds have already been earmarked. They're put aside for that purpose. The board's approved it. At this stage, I don't really have any concerns. Thank you.
Any further questions? No, seeing none.
Okay. We're gonna move on to Parks and Recreation Marina Department. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Yes, Deputy Mayor Tellier.
Thank you. And through the chair, the top line there, 6202 Share of Deficit Yacht Club. Can you explain that for residents, please?
Absolutely. So, so this line item was created last year. So basically, this amount represents offsetting cost to a fish cleaning station that Yacht Club is contributing.
Thank you so much.
Further questions?
Okay.
Okay, move on, please.
Now we're gonna move on to programming. Are there any questions on that? No? Okay. Next one is Recreation Center.
Questions, anyone? See none.
Okay, and next department is Pool. Any questions?
Right, okay, Councillor Denny, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just a quick question with regards to pool funding. And perhaps Madam Clerk can speak to this a little bit. We've been very fortunate this year to receive some donations from the community to help offset pool costs. Do you have any idea how that will impact the day-to-day user of our pool, whether it's the kids or the swim fit program?
Thank you, Councillor Dunning. I'm happy that you did bring that up. So we have, as Councillor Dunning mentioned, we're very fortunate this year to receive some donations. That report will actually be coming to council on the 12th for council to give us direction on how to allocate those. So some of the funds have been designated to towards Aquafit. Some of the funds have been designated towards the open swims. So again, stay tuned for June 12th, and that will all be outlined so that we can get council's direction to specifically tell us where to offset.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. No, sir. Deputy Mayor Tellier.
Thank you through the chair. Just to point out for residents that yes, some of our programs around us are less. I believe it's $350 for Aquafit. It's the one I get the most questions about for the pool. But that is incorporated in taxes and grants and different things that is the reason why the fees are much lower around us at times for different programs. So just bear in mind that it would be I think we're 42,000 for each 1% of our
Approximately.
yeah, approximately just under. So with I mean, we can present that and have that and look at that and see what that model would look like in the future. But as for now, when we have these donations or whatever, we're gonna, as our clerk kindly said, on the 12th, look at what that looks like. But a lot of municipalities around us, that's incorporated in your tax base to have such lower fees or some other creative way that they've used.
Okay, further questions?
Okay.
Seeing none. We're so lucky we got good people that give donations. Really help those people out. Okay, thank you. Carry on.
Okay, next is operations under Parks and Recreations. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, Councillor Stein.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just one quick one here. I noticed a large line item for the Scout Hall. Are there some outstanding repairs? $12,500 versus $1,500 to $3,000 in the past. I just wondered if anybody knows what is there something that needs to be done? A roof or a?
For council to. Oh, okay.
Can anybody shed any light on that?
So through the chair, it's not what I was thinking it was for, so certainly I'm gonna look into that and get an answer for you.
And if we might, Councillor Statham, sorry, we do have two people who are new in their position. And so they're familiarizing themselves. So just also for our community to be aware, two people are familiarizing themselves with their new departments and to understand how each line is made from the budget. I think Terry, the clerk, was there may have been some conversation around if we were moving council temporarily over to the Scout Hall. If we did renovations here, there may have been some repairs that we needed and internet in order to be connected so that the live streaming or the recording of council meetings could occur. I think that's what it could be. Terry, you may be correct, but I will just double check and confirm it for you.
Yeah, thank you. If you just let us know at the next meeting what that line item is, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. We can carry on.
Yep. So, any other questions on operations? I see none. So now we're gonna move on to Rodney Library. None. And West Lorne Library.
Okay, Councillor Denny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the chair, just with regards to the upcoming renovations that will impact the library. Would you like to speak to how that specifically impacts things here in this building?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this moment in time, we do have Spreet looking over the preliminary drawings, and then we will be moving, so for engineering purposes, that we will be moving that over to costing for, and so it is broken into three parts. One is for the library, sort of taking over the old employment services, getting confirmation on washrooms. There is a requirement for municipal buildings for washrooms to be AODA compliant. So getting a costing for that. And then a third part of that would be for this space here for council, one, to create a more greater room and better design layout and probably better security for this to be a council chambers. We will separate those into the 2-3 buckets. So when those come forward, council can make the ultimate decision on how to proceed. But right now it is in the costing phase.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And just to follow up on that, so the county has expressed an interest in an expansion of the square footage of the library. And once that's completed, there will be additional revenue to West Elgin to accommodate that larger footprint, correct?
Thank you, Mr. Denning. Yeah, our agreement with the County of Elgin Library System is that the local municipalities are responsible for the facilities of which service is delivered. In turn, they do rent the space back to us. And so that helps to offset costs that we incur to upkeep the asset or the municipal building. And then it's also for us for future repairs that may be needed done. I mean, after a while, carpets repair, painting needs to be done. So yes, thank you for mentioning that. Also, the county does provide for the local municipalities a tax-free loan. And I believe for the size of this municipality, it's up to $100,000. So council can take advantage of that to sort of offset any renovation costs that they have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Further questions? Oh, we'll move on, please.
Okay, next is planning. None. Economic development.
Seeing none?
None. And last one are municipal drains.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, the conversation I was having earlier, or the point that I brought up earlier regarding the receivables for cleaning out of drains, and I just wanted to bring attention to the line item under debentures, municipal drains, interest. We have $7,915 budgeted in 2025 for interest on work for municipal drains. This would be drastically reduced if our receivables were coming in less than 2.5 years? Would it not? Am I wrong about that?
Yes, Councillor Statham, I have to correct. So what you see under debentures, so those are the debentures that we offer to our ratepayers, but the interest is not earned by the municipality, but earned by whatever that debenture is coming from, whether it's coming from the Royal Bank or in our instance, Salis Insurance. So basically what we do, the municipality borrows the money on behalf of the ratepayer. And those payments that you see under tile drains, there's municipal drains or water lines, and then there is a separate account for interest. So basically, so we pay the debenture on behalf of the ratepayer, but we recover that money in annual installments on their final tax bill. So the money goes out as an expense for the municipality. And if you turn into the summary page of the budget, you'll notice there is a line item just underneath the taxes called local improvements. That $48,000 equals to the total debenture amount that we do. So it's in and out. So net effect is zero to the municipality. And so back to drainage, municipal drains department. That department only covers the cost of employing a drain superintendent.
I just want to understand this clearly. So $7,900, we're paying that in interest. Is that correct?
Well, yes, we do pay it on behalf of the ratepayers, and we collect that money from the ratepayers.
Okay, would we pay less interest if we were to
No.
collect?
No, it has nothing to do, it has nothing to do with our receivables because the way drains are built is the project has to be completed. However, there is a certain steps to the process. So, first, the assessment is done by engineers, and then there are several meetings with the ratepayers. They are provided with cost estimates. Then council approves the project. Project is being completed, and then once we have full cost of the municipal drain work or maintenance drain, we certain drain work is grantable. So for those that are grantable, we submit application with OMAFRA to offset the cost to ratepayers. And that application process from the submission to actually receiving the approval for grant money takes between a year to 18 months. And that's what it takes. We have to, there is a requirement to kind of wait how much that grant money is going to be so we can charge ratepayers accordingly.
Okay, thank you, Magda. So so getting those funds sooner would not translate to savings to the municipality.
No.
Thank you.
Okay, so this concludes our 2025 operating and capital budget. Are there any additional questions or comments from council?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through the chair. Magda, I want to thank you so much for this presentation and all the work that you've done and the pivoting that we've had you do. Has any of the discussion that we've had and the adjustments we made since 2 weeks ago had any impact on what you proposed tax increase to be?
Well, I guess we're at the point where a council will need to provide staff with direction whether you're willing to offset the increases with tax stabilization reserves. Based on discussion that we had today, there is not much of a savings. As for EV charging station, I will remove $98,000 that is currently um, incorporated in our capital budget, and not remove, but perhaps replace it with $11,000 in case the turnaround with the application process is rather quicker. So now we're at the point where council is going to have to make that decision on how you would like us to proceed.
Yes, councillor Denning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through the chair. So in the event that council does support the idea of allocating some of that tax stabilization fund into this 2025 budget, can you give us an idea of what that impact would look like with regards to tax increases?
Yes, so let me just here it is. So yes, so for if council chooses to use $100,000 out of tax rate stabilization, the rate increase, not taking into consideration small adjustments that we have made today, would be approximately 6.5% increase. If council chooses to apply $200,000 from rate stabilization reserves, that the tax rate increases will go down to approximately 4.2%.
Okay, councillor Statham.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. No, that's not taking into account any changes.
That's
And,
correct.
and from what you said, Magda, earlier in the presentation, it's about $41,000 equates to 1 percentage
Yes.
point. So if we're effectively removing the EV charging station, which was 98,000, and we're maintaining $11,000 on there, should we receive the grant, the green economy grant, we're leaving 11,000, so that's $87,000 that we'd be removing.
Yep.
Would that translate to a 2% savings?
Yes.
Okay, so if we were to, again, just me thinking, if we were to apply $100,000 from the tax stabilization fund and then remove that $87,000 from the budget, I think if my math is working correctly, we'd be around the 4.5%, 4.2% mark as well.
Yep.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, further questions? Thank you, Magna. You've had quite an evening. So, councillor Statham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's more of a comment than anything else. And I just wanted to point out, I very much appreciate the work that staff has done on this. And I think it's really important to recognize that given the cost of the increases that everybody is seeing across the board, I'm talking about groceries, fuel, insurance, vehicles, to your point, Chief, looking at an increase of 4%, to me, indicates that we're being very frugal and careful with the finances of the municipality. And I appreciate all of the answers to all these questions. And I just wanted to put that out, that there is significant increases that are happening everywhere.
Mm.
And I think that I think that the public understands that. And for us to only be looking at a 4% increase, I think is, or 6%. Again, we haven't made that decision yet, but I think that is a very reasonable figure. Thank you.
Okay.
If I may.
Yes,
Um,
carry on.
so Magda, you don't have that or the tax stabilization in the budget, do you? So we would need a motion for you to utilize. Okay. So going off of what Councillor Statham has said, I'm having it recorded. So I need a motion to remove $100,000 from the tax stabilization fund. I need that as a.
Okay.
Yeah.
I move.
Is that council's direction?
Is that council's direction?
I will
Yeah.
put that motion forward.
Okay.
That's what those funds are there for, so I will put that motion forward.
Seconded. Councillor Denning. Further questions? All in favour? Carried. Okay, we go here.
And I do have a recommendation that West Elgin Council hereby receive the 2025 Port Glasgow Trailer Park water, wastewater, and operating budget for information and discussion purposes.
Move it, please. Deputy Mayor Tellier, seconded. Councillor Statham, all in favour? That's carried. We're going to a 5-minute break. Right, we're about to start again. We go to number 7, items of consideration. Councillor Statham. Motion to amend 2025-155.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this motion before you is, I know we sort of had addressed this in the past and we had decided that, maybe it's best to have a week to review applicants for the council seat. I think in this particular case, and because we've done it in the past, I think it would serve council well to have the representative for Ward 3 selected sooner than later. So this motion is to suggest that after the June 5th interviews, that we proceed directly into the selection of the candidate rather than wait until June 12th to select the candidate. Do you want me to read? Okay. From the top. I, Councillor Statham, hereby move a motion to amend motion 2025-155 to read the following. The West Elgin Council hereby schedule a special meeting of council on Thursday, June 5th, 2025 at 4 p.m. for the purpose of Ward 3 candidate interviews, and that the selection of Ward 3 councillor will be made on Thursday, June 5th, 2025 at the special meeting of council, and appointment will be made on Thursday, June 12th, 2025 at the regular meeting of council.
Okay. Questions? Okay, Councillor Statham, you made that motion. Okay, can I have a seconder? Councillor Denning? Now, any questions? Yes.
Through the chair, so I'm a little confused. So we would be looking at the candidates on the 5th and then discussing and making a decision on the 5th, and they would be sworn in and inaugurated on the 12th, correct?
Correct.
All right, just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Further talk? Anybody? Okay, so. Yeah, all in favour? That's carried. Okay, so we go to 8. Gas tax bylaw and agreement.
Any members of council have any questions or concerns regarding the gas tax bylaw and agreement? The recommendation is that bylaw 2025-31, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of agreement between His Majesty the King in Right of Ontario, as represented by the Minister of Transportation and the Corporation of the Municipality of West Elgin, for the provision and use of dedicated gas tax funds under the Dedicated Gas Tax Funds for Public Transportation Program, be read a first, second, third, and final time.
Yes. Okay. Deputy Mayor Tellier moved, seconded. Councillor Statham, all in favour? That's carried. Confirmatory bylaw.
That bylaw 2025-32, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the special meeting of council held on June 3rd, 2025, be read a first, second, third, and final time.
Move it, please. Councillor Denning, seconded. Deputy Mayor Tellier, All in favour? That's carried. And that brings us to adjournment.
That the Council of the Municipality of West Elgin hereby adjourn the special meeting of council at 6:03 PM to meet again at 4:00 PM on Thursday, June 5th, 2025. Special meeting for Ward 3 interviews or at the call of the chair.
Move it, please. Councillor Statham, seconded. Councillor Denning, all in favour? It's carried. Thank you very much.